Call of Duty Black Ops. What a series. I think it's safe to say that Treyarch knows how to make Call of Duty campaigns when they decide they want to, most of the time. And this year, they've done it again. I think that the Black Ops 6 campaign is the best campaign in years, even though last year's campaign was so good.
You serious?
Now, it's really impressive that this campaign was able to break out of the typical COD campaign formula of nothing but linear levels and create something that didn't feel so out of place. Today I want to take a look at why it was so different, yet one of the best Call of Duty campaigns in years. Now, just a little warning, there are some spoilers ahead, so beware. Now, in the story we get to see some new faces, but we also get to see the legendary Frank Woods. And this story takes place after the Panama fiasco, where Woods suffered the catastrophic loss of both of his knees.
You bet! Menendez!
Which reminded me of the story of another legendary war hero.
Out of the sun came a Tojo Zero and put 50 bullets in my back. The blood attracted sharks. I had to give him fatty. Then things took a turn for the worse. I made it to an island, but it was full of Tojos. They were spitting on the U.S. flag, so I rushed them. But it was a trap. They opened fire and blew my shins off. Last thing I remember, I beat them all to death with a big piece of fatty. I woke up in a field hospital, and they were sewing my feet to my knees.
It's basically the same tragic story. And it's because of this that Woods decided to wear mascara and join an emo band. The campaign starts with an interrogation where these CIA agents are in some hot water. And why is that? Well, come to find out that during a mission where they capture a high-value target, they get intercepted by none other than Russell Adler.
Is this your... No!
Now, the reason that this happened was because, according to Adler, the CIA had been infiltrated and it was better that the target not fall into their hands. And Adler isn't on the best terms with the CIA to begin with because he took the blame for what happened in Panama. I do like it when a game ties in with previous Call of Duties. In this one, I wish it happened more, but it seems like the only references throughout the entire campaign to previous Call of Duties is just what happened in Panama.
I wasn't in there.
I guess another reference to previous Call of Duty games is the level where you go back to Vorkuta, where you do get to do some sneaking around. And who doesn't love sneaking around an old Soviet gulag? One of the coolest parts of this game is the variety of locations throughout the story. In one level, you're in Washington, D.C., schmoozing some politicians. And next, you're in one of Saddam Hussein's many palaces.
Take that, Saddam.
Then you're in a casino pulling off a heist. And you also have the fictional city of Avalon, which also looks great. But the place that you spend most of your time in this game is in a safe house in Bulgaria. And they had something similar to this in the last Black Ops where you could have a nice little chat with the main characters in between missions. And at first I thought it was a little gimmicky. But I've since played Red Dead Redemption 2, and hanging around the camp made me realize that if you hang around camp with the other characters, it makes the overall story more meaningful because you have a better connection with the characters, and there are conversations that you can easily miss. And it gives the story some more depth. For example, you see Wood struggle a little bit with the fact that he doesn't have the same mobility that he used to.
Maybe you were Captain America before, and now you're like Professor X.
Get out of my face, man.
You also get to see Felix Newman prepare a nice little meal for everyone. Call of Duty. During these conversations with other characters, you may notice that it has the same zoom mechanic that it does in Oblivion.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch!
Now, after playing this campaign with the whole safe house base setup, it actually makes me want to go back and play Cold War. In the safe house, you also get to look for clues like these codes on the wall, which correlate with the keys on the piano. After hours and hours of practice and dedication, you can play a little something like this. Once you complete all the safe house tasks, you can finally get the code for this safe, where you get some
Money!
Now throughout the levels, there's opportunities for you to grab some cash, which can be used to upgrade your abilities and even get some blueprints. That is displayed so nicely on this page, so it gives you some incentive to go around and explore. You also get cash for taking out special soldiers, and these special soldiers add some variety to the gameplay. It makes the gameplay feel slightly more like Halo, where not all the enemies are the same, and it kind of keeps you on your toes. The special soldiers that just launch RC cars at you are kind of funny. Just imagine someone's in the middle of a battlefield and they're like, hold on, I gotta deploy my RC car.
He's at it again!
In order to combat these special soldiers, you get some fancy new equipment in this game, such as this adrenaline shot, which will slow down time for you, kind of like it does in Tony Hawk games. But my personal favorite is the Hollow Knife, which is like the remote control batarang in the Batman Arkham games, because it's a knife and an explosive. Now the story on its surface may actually be very similar to past Call of Duties. An oversimplified version of it is that the US created a dangerous weapon that ended up in the wrong hands, and you have to fight to prevent that weapon from being used against the US. Now that's the gist of it, but there are some things that happen along the way that give it a little spice. The story leads us to ask questions like, who is Case, the mysterious person that you spend the whole campaign playing as? What is this guy doing up here? Who took out Harrow's parents? What's up with this ending?
Look what you've done! I know what you really are, Case. The Cradle made you this. You owe everything to the Pantheon.
And where did this chessboard come from? Now it can be a little hard to completely understand the whole story, but I guess that's not what is most important here. The biggest selling point to this campaign is the gameplay. Probably the most memorable level is where you go to investigate a CIA facility, and you get exposed to the biological weapon that takes you on a crazy trip.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rod. You look like a giant eagle with fire all around you, and you've got a mountain for a face.
I'm guessing that's the drugs, Dave.
Now if you want to play a level with jump scares, this is the one for you. Here are just a few moments that speak for themselves.
Biotechnology restricted.
There's another level that's similar to this, where it feels very out of the ordinary for a Call of Duty campaign, where Harrow is drugged so that she can be interrogated, and she goes on a crazy trip too. As I mentioned before, there's this casino level that feels like Ocean's 11, with more guns and violence and shooting. My favorite level in this whole campaign is this stealth mission, where you have to sneak around to reach a vantage point and use a conveniently placed sniper rifle to take out a high-valued target. There's a new mechanic that they added, which has always been one of my favorites from the Splinter Cell games, where you can take an enemy and use them as a human shield. I hope they keep it in future Call of Duty games because it's pretty fun to use. There's also the level where you're working with the British, and it's very similar to the open combat levels from last year's, but I think they did a better job with this one. You gotta take out these missiles, and there's a ton of different approaches that you can take. As fun as this level was, it kind of feels like a cheaper version of DMZ. And I know that it's not necessarily set up to be a DMZ competitor, but I think DMZ was so much fun. If there was more incentive to explore the level and get rewards that not only help you in the same level, but the rest of the campaign, I think it would be much more replayable. But if you do explore, you can get your hands on a nice RCXD, which makes this mission a lot easier. They also give you a brand new, pre-owned military vehicle to drive around in. Moving on to the things that I think could have been better, I think that you do have to play the campaign a specific way in order to get the most out of it. Where you have to make sure that you see every interaction at the safe house and explore every nook and cranny to find that cold hard cash to upgrade. I also think that in this game and in Cold War, Woods feels like a different character. It might have something to do with the fact that it's a different voice actor, but even though I think the new one does a great job, it just feels different. I also wish that they would have brought Mason back. In a series that doesn't hesitate to bring characters back,
Well, I wasn't in that tank.
you'd think that they'd just throw him right back in the campaign.
Hey, Woods.
I guess it wouldn't
You look
work with
like
Woods
hammered
not
shit.
knowing where Mason had been up until
Stay right
Woods was
there.
like 100 years old.
Mason. They shot you. Turns out you're a lousy shot.
The last thing that I think could have been better was if the story was a little clearer. I've played the campaign twice and it definitely makes more sense the second time around, but it's still confusing for my simple mind to understand. I think it's safe to say that if you like a little bit of variety in your Call of Duty campaign, then this might be the one for you. It's an awesome campaign, and although it's very different and not everyone's gonna like it, I think they knocked it out of the park. Sorry, one other thing I think they could have done better. The last level was a little underwhelming, and it could have been so much better if you could play as Woods in the wheelchair. I would give this campaign the precise score of 8.364 out of 10. But let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
Take that, Saddam.